Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. This is kind of been doing some other videos lately, some specialty videos, and then obviously holidays are a big time to watch movies. So I've been covering, the movies I watched the last few days or so. So that's been fun. But I had started about probably about a month ago, or a little less than a month ago. I started a coverage or a series of videos of where, or I had this idea of where I wanted to cover all the movies of one of my all-time favorite directors of all time. That is Martin Scorsese. The whole reason or the way I had this idea pop into my head, it was always something I thought about. But after seeing, which was about a month ago, I got to go see Killers of the Flower Moon on the big screen. And what an epic film, just incredible. And it's funny because that keeps coming up when I talk to people. I've been recommending it to people, and I have said, you know, to a couple of friends or just some people I know in passing. And I said something about or just yesterday I had mentioned it to somebody that I didn't really know, and they were telling me the last movie they saw, and then I said, yeah, the last movie I saw was Killers of the Flower Moon, and the first thing they said was, I heard it's really long. I heard it's super long. And then I said, well, it is. It's an undertaking, but it's an experience, and it's really great, and it's worth seeing in the theater. And that's the general consensus every time I've brought that movie up or it's come up in conversation, especially people who have not seen it. They all say, "Oh, I heard it's really long. I heard it's really long." That's like the first thing they say. So it's just kind of funny. And again, it is a long movie. It's a funny thing because on one hand, it is a long movie. But in comparison to say, Scorsese is known to direct lots of these long, really ambitious kind of sweeping epic films. Movies like Casino, Goodfellas, The Irishman, Last Temptation of Christ. So many great films. But a lot of the work that he does, Gangs of New York is also a pretty long and ambitious piece of work. He's really done lots of films. Kundun is another one, and I've covered most of these movies so far. There are still some more to go, and this has been a really great kind of adventure into diving back into a lot of his films. And it was funny. I was really had this craving, this itch to see Goodfellas by Martin Scorsese, and I hadn't seen that movie in a super duper long time. So I rented it when I had gotten these other movies for Thanksgiving, and planning on watching a bunch of movies with my family, which we ended up doing. And then I was going to watch Goodfellas on my own, like the night before Thanksgiving Eve, and I sat and watched it, and just just enamored with what a masterpiece of a film that is. But that being said, I forgot it's a pretty long movie. It's like I watched a good part of it, like 2 hours, and then I was pretty tired that day. I had the whole week, I guess, I'd kind of caught up with me, and I ended up like taking a little bit of a nap. I don't. I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to most things. I like to think that I am, and pretty flexible about certain things. One thing for my own kind of take on things is I don't really like to watch movies when I'm really tired. I don't like I used to, watch movies, start watching movies late at night, all the time, and I'd watch it until I was like ready for bed or whatnot. Now, as I've gotten older, I seem to be not really wanting to do that. I like to watch. Now it's like I enjoy the experience so much of watching a film that I like to watch it when I'm like, awake and like alert and ready to go. And so I tend to watch movies at a little bit on the earlier side, and I tend not to watch movies. I won't typically throw in a movie at like 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the morning like I used to. I typically will watch because I get kind of tired or fatigued or whatever. I can watch a movie, but I feel like my concentration level is off. So typically, when I watch a movie, I will watch it at a more reasonable time. Um, and I usually don't like to watch a movie where like I watch one half of it and then finish it the next day. I usually like to watch a movie all the way through or whatnot. That's a lot of fun. Occasionally, like I had a day, I think it was last weekend or the weekend before. I had a Sunday where I just kind of you know had done some stuff in the morning, and then but I was pretty tired, and I was just wanting to relax. And I came home, and I ended up watching like three movies back to back. But I started the movies like on the earlier side, like around 4:30 or something like that. And I was watching movies, and I, didn't pay attention to the time. I didn't have anywhere to go or any plans. I was just like, I'm just gonna chill out at home. And then I was didn't really check the time, and next thing I knew, it was like midnight, and I was like, "Whoa!" I didn't realize I'd been watching movies for that long. So like, I still do the big marathon days of where I'll watch like three movies together. Um, but getting back to the length of certain films, like Casino, I mean, pretty much for the most part, I honestly don't think Killers of the Flower Moon is any longer than any of his other films. Like I said, I watched Goodfellas the other night, and I hadn't seen it in years. And time wise, it's a very long movie, and so it's not really any. It's about the same duration. Um, there is, you know, there were moments I thought of Killers of the Flower Moon. Not that it dragged, but there were moments where it did feel a little bit long, and there was like a there at one point in the story. I kind of felt like, okay, this is where that part of the film or the story is going to kind of wrap up, and it's coming to an end. But then it kept going, and I was a little bit surprised by that, and I thought that you know was good. But I could see it being argued back and forth that maybe it could have been edited down a little bit during that sequence to shorten the length of the film. But again, it's it's a real nitpicking kind of a thing. I mean, you're talking like 10 to 15 minutes, being left in or being left out. But overall, I don't feel like this movie is any longer than any of his other films, especially his ambitious works. A lot of his films, like the movies I mentioned, like Casino and whatnot, they will follow certain characters over the span of 2 or 3 decades. So they're like huge in scope. So, and that is kind of the way I think Scorsese operates, of where he'll like do these intensive kind of deep dive character studies, and you'll see, and you'll follow their lives over the span of a long period of time. So, but tremendous. When I saw that movie, I realized um, that would be a great idea. It started off where I did a review for Killers of the Flower Moon, and then the next day, after I had done the review, I was like, you know what? I really love all of his movies. It comes up a lot in my videos of where I talk about certain directors that just hit the mark, and they just have this consistent body of work. So it's and I was like, Scorsese's the man. He's always been one of my favorites. So I decided to do a movie for each of his films. So that's where we're at right now, and I'm kind of almost done. There's a few films I need to do still. I mean, just a huge body of work, but it's been a lot of fun. Um, One of the complaints I had heard about the movie Killers of the Flower Moon, and one of my friends had said, and I was like kind of agreeing with them, was that it would have been fine or cool if there was an intermission, because the movie is lengthy. Maybe there could have been a little bit of an intermission. And I was like, I could see that. I could understand that. But then I was like, well, I get kind of get it why that's not part of the film too. And it's funny, I had been reading about the movie, and one of the people involved with the film on the production, who I guess works for Scorsese and is in direct, you know, she is this woman who sets up basically, who does the, is in charge of this the distribution of the movie. There were I guess a few theaters, and there were people that were asking to see if they could get, because of the length of the movie, they could have an intermission included with the film. And this person had said, well, had basically vetoed it and said, no, we don't want to have any intermission. We want just the movie to be shown. I thought that was kind of funny, and kind of like a little bit of a strange angle or a strange view, because it is lengthy, and it is a thing of where I used to always say, and Scorsese has said it too. He doesn't understand people who complain about the length of that film or longer films in general, because he's like, well, people will binge watch a movie or a TV show for 5 or 6 hours in one sitting at home. And so he doesn't understand people who complain about that, which is, I think, a legitimate argument. But also, I think it's, the thing of being able to watch a movie at home or watching a movie at home, you do have that luxury of like taking, you can just take a break. If you're watching something pretty long or you're watching a series, you can just, press pause or whatever and go like make lunch or make dinner, or like, even go to the store, just take a break and then come back to it, or take a break, go to the bathroom or whatever. And so you have that luxury to kind of just put everything on pause. Obviously, when you're in the theater, you're paying to see it. You don't have that luxury. You have to like, you can't press pause. If you have to pee, you have to pee. You'll miss something, or if you go to get food or whatever. So it is a not the. I don't think it's really the best comparison, because obviously do people do binge watch things, and TV shows, especially now. That's like a regular occurrence. So I can understand both sides of that, but I generally think that when you're at home, you do have the luxury of, pausing things for a while, and taking a break if you need. Sometimes I'll do that when I'm home watching a movie, and it will be a case. It's usually the case of, because I like the movie so much. Sometimes it's because I have lots of problems with it. And I knew somebody who used to do it all the time, where you watch a movie that you're really into, and then you kind of like purposely take a break to kind of absorb everything. And you're really, it's not that you're taking a break because you're not into it, or that you're just not invested in it. You're taking a break, at least, and from my perspective, is the reason I'd be taking a break is I just want to like absorb it and like kind of process everything, because sometimes it's a lot of information and you're like, wow, like this is really great. I want to like take a moment to kind of reflect on what I'm taking in. So it's kind of interesting. But today's show is on a really wonderful movie, and this movie I definitely consider to be one of those epics, kind of Scorsese films, and that is The Wolf of Wall Street, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. This movie really reminds me, as far as the energy goes, really reminds me of films like Goodfellas or Casino, where it hits you. It has this kinetic pace where the energy of the film is just kind of through the roof, and the minute the movie starts, it's like lightning in a bottle. Movies like The Irishman and I think Killers of the Flower Moon have that energy, but they're much more in the vein of like a slower burn kind of film. They don't have that kinetic energy of where, it's like a lightning storm coming at you, and it's got this like sense of, like, the pacing is really fast moving. There's a lot of really interesting editing, and there's a lot of interesting cuts, but you're getting this like really kind of intense narrative energy. And I think the tone wise, and when it comes to pacing, it's very different for, like I say, for example, Goodfellas and then Killers of the Flower Moon. Completely, both films so incredibly different, and so it's movie appropriate. I think as far as the editing and the pacing of both of those films, you're not gonna like. I don't think a film like Killers of the Flower Moon, because it's essentially, there's a lot of dialogue and it's essentially a lot of people talking in the room, and a very dark, it's a very dark film and dealing with a really hard subject to talk about. So the whole tone of it is very, very different. So you're not, it's not going to work, and I don't think in that context. Like if you were supposed to have this, kind of editing and this like real laser like use of information, whereas like Casino has, or Goodfellas, the story shows all different facets of its interior and exterior of who these characters are, and it's just kind of made for that kind of kinetic energy. And there there's elements of comedy in that film, drama. There's elements of extreme violence. Whereas like Killers of the Flower Moon is a very quiet, kind of brooding tale. So tonally, it's a very different kind of a thing. Like another example would be The Silence. Another film, very very dark, very very contemplative. So it's slow. So it's all kind of story appropriate, or how the story is going to be told because of the subject matter. And I think Wolf of Wall Street harkens back to that style that Scorsese had when he made films like Casino. It's got that energy where it's just like coming at you, like full on. All cylinders are fired up, and it reminds me of that aesthetic. But the only way I can really describe this movie is it's just pure electric, and it's based on a true story. Jonah Hill is in this film, and Leonardo DiCaprio, and there's this amazing performance by Matthew McConaughey in this film. All the cast, all of the acting is just incredible. Matthew McConaughey is just amazing. He's only in the film for a short period of time for the most part, but his performance is just pure electric. Um, yeah, just an incredible movie. Basically, this movie is about, it's a true story, and it's based on Jordan Belfort, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and he gets into an entry level job at Wall Street and a brokerage firm, and by the time while he's still in his 20s, he starts his own company, the Stratton Oakmont. Together with his trusted lieutenant, they start this incredible empire where they just make millions and millions of dollars after defrauding, and just like they're just so incredibly corrupt, and they just basically rob all of these people, and where they start this investment company, and they just completely like wreak havoc, and they make just millions and millions of dollars, and it's like they live this like kind of unprecedented like gluttonous lifestyle. And there are scenes where there's so many, there's the just the sheer debauchery of what's going on is just like unbelievable, and just it's like nothing you've ever seen before. And the energy of this film is just incredible. I remember when this movie came out, people were shocked. There are some very shocking scenes in this movie, and people were really shocked and horrified by some of the moments of the film. And there are so many scenes in this film of where, I've seen interviews with Scorsese of where they were, where there's all of these actors in this room, and basically everybody is just kind of losing their mind at the same time. And there's all these moments of where they were actually just kind of improvising, as this group. And so this energy on screen and in some of these scenes is just, unbelievable. And Jordan Belfort is just like such a complex person because, I mean, ultimately he's a pretty vile, kind of disgusting person, but yet you have empathy towards him because he does have other qualities. And you know, he obviously was guilty of so many crimes. He eventually got arrested and was put in jail, but the actions, and he served his time technically, and then he came out of that, out of prison, and he worked as a consultant for a lot of companies and things about basically watching, you know, for people who commit those kinds of crimes. And so he tried to turn to a life of good, I guess you could say. And he became a speaker. And it's one of DiCaprio's greatest performances. I mean, he's so unrecognizable in this film. Jonah Hill is also just unbelievable. This movie is pure electric, and I really think that this movie really reminds me of that energy. Like I said, films like Casino and especially Goodfellas. It's just lightning in a bottle the whole way through. I bought this Blu-ray this year, and it's amazing. I've only watched it once. I've seen this movie quite a few times. I really want to watch this again, and I'm going to probably watch it very soon, maybe tonight or tomorrow. But I bought this really amazing Blu-ray edition of this film, and it's just incredible. It's got all kinds of great features. Visually, the music, all those components of why we love film and what makes film such a beautiful art form with its immersive nature. This film really has that. I mean, the energy, the direction, the cinematography, the music, the transfer of this on Blu-ray is just incredible. I had seen this movie on DVD. I don't think I saw it in the theater, but this is a beautiful edition. I got this really cheap. I think I got it at Goodwill for like a few bucks. But a beautiful addition to this movie. Like I've said in other videos, I need to complete my Scorsese collection. I don't. There's still a lot of movies I don't have. I have a decent amount, but they're mostly on the DVD side of things. But I'm slowly getting more of his films. I have Wolf of Wall Street. I have Casino on Blu-ray. I have Shutter Island on Blu-ray. I have Mean Streets, which is my all-time favorite, on Blu-ray. I have Raging Bull on Blu-ray. I have Taxi Driver on Blu-ray. Um, and I think that's all of them. And I own the Criterion collection of The Last Temptation of Christ, which is easily the most controversial film that he's ever done. It's one of my favorites. It's just a masterpiece. But I have it on DVD. It's a really beautiful edition. It is a Criterion collection, but and then I own. I'm trying to think what else I own. This I think that might be all of the films of his that I own. I have a couple of different versions of Taxi Driver, but eventually I'll snag up all of the films that of his career that I need to get on Blu-ray. There's some. There's obviously some I don't own at all, but I've seen all of them. So, but this is an amazing film. So definitely check this out. Just an incredible film. It's pure electric. So thanks again. This is Jason Dean, and we will see you next time. Peace.